Anin, Sego. Hello everyone and welcome back to our budget friendly meals series. This week we'll be making bean and rice taco soup. This is a favorite in our house because it only takes 30 minutes, uses one pot, and it's made with only canned and shelf staple ingredients. The ingredients we'll be using for this yummy pot of deliciousness are 1 can of beans. We're going to use black beans today, but you could use any bean that you prefer. We'll add 1 cup of rice, which will be uncooked, 1 can of corn, a can of tomato sauce, a small jar of salsa, a carton of broth. Today we're using chicken, however, you could use beef or vegetable to make it a vegetarian meal. We'll add 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning, and then we'll also use 2 cups of water closer to the end. In addition to the ingredients, you'll need just a couple things from around the kitchen. We're going to need a large pot, which is what we'll be making our soup in, a can opener to get all of our cans open, a wooden spoon or any other spoon that you prefer to use when stirring, and then you'll also need a measuring cup and spoon, specifically 1 cup and 1 tablespoon. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at the cost breakdown for this week's recipe. 1 cup of uncooked rice is 44 cents. The can of black beans is $1.46. Our canned corn, $1.13. Our tomato sauce is $1.68. The salsa, because we weren't able to get it on sale for the week, was $3.38. The carton of chicken broth was $1.13, and then 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning works out to be 42 cents. Now, the total for this meal, including taxes, is $9.64. You might be thinking that doesn't sound like it's very budget friendly. However, this particular recipe makes enough for at least 5 servings, which when you break it down that way, it equals out to be $1.93 per person. So I've got my favorite big pot here, and this is going to be perfect for the soup. Add in my black beans, can of corn. Next, I think I'm going to add in my salsa, and again, we're using a small jar. Now I'm going to go ahead and just give this a bit of a stir. I want to make sure that all of the ingredients are nice and well combined, so I tend to do this in steps. Here's our tablespoon of taco seasoning. And now our can of tomato sauce. Now this 1 cup of uncooked rice. Again, we're putting it in uncooked because for the time that we let everything boil and simmer, the rice will be cooked perfectly. And last but not least, our broth. As I mentioned earlier, you could use vegetable broth, which would then make this a vegetarian soup. Go ahead and add in the whole carton. Now again, carefully, go ahead and stir everything up. So that's it. That's how easy this is. Now go ahead and put your element on high. What we want to do is bring this to a boil. So it's come to a boil now, and I'm going to give it a gentle stir. I'm going to do this just to make sure that none of that rice that we've added in is starting to stick to the bottom of our pot. What we want to do is now cover our soup and now turn the element down to low, because we're going to want to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. That should be enough time to let our rice cook. So we're at about the 10-minute mark here, and I'm just going to take the lid off and again give everything a good stir. This is just to make sure that our rice isn't sticking to the bottom of the pot. Honestly, I don't think there's anything worse than trying to scrub burnt rice off of the bottom of a cooking pot. Once you feel like you've done a good stir, go ahead and cover that back up. We're going to let it simmer again for that last 10 minutes. So we're at the 20-minute mark now. So my soup here has been simmering for about 20 minutes. You can see that some of that extra liquid has started to absorb into our rice, which is exactly what we want to have happen. It smells delicious. And again, I'm just checking that bottom of the pot, making sure that nothing is stuck. Once you've given it a good stir, you can see here that if we were to set it aside right now exactly the way it is to let it sit, it would probably thicken up almost to be a stew. That's not what we want to have happen here. So what we need to do is incorporate those 2 cups of water that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to start by adding this first cup, and I just want to get a feel for where we're at with our consistency. I'm still concerned that it's going to be still a little bit thick after I let it sit for a couple minutes, so I think I'm going to go ahead and add in my second cup of water. In the event your family prefers a stew-like dish, then feel free not to add the 2 cups of water in. Just going to turn off my element, continue to stir. And then I'm just going to remove it from the heat completely, where we're going to want to let it sit for about 5 minutes. Once those 5 minutes are up, our soup is ready to go ahead and serve. Super simple, super easy, bean and rice taco soup. We hope you enjoy this week's recipe, and until next time, Ona!